Welcome to all you seekers of inner wisdom. Welcome to Human Design Academy. I'm Marianne, and today we are exploring the profound impact of human design and the asteroid Chiron and the mythology of Chiron on your personal growth and self-discovery. Now, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more enlightening content. Now, let's dive in. So human design is truly like a roadmap that leads you to understanding your true self. So by delving into your own design, you actually are unlocking the keys to living a more authentic, more fulfilling kind of life. Now, it's interesting though, because when we go beyond your actual human design natal chart, there are many different layers that can take us deeper and deeper into releasing things, changing things, seeing things in a different way that help us to connect to ourselves in a more empowered way. You know, we have the opportunity for releasing things, healing things, and growing that aligns to our true selves, not to anyone else. It's an individualized process. So imagine just being able to live knowing that you are able to honor your true self. Imagine feeling truly empowered by who you are unapologetically. You know, picture a life where you can navigate challenges, embrace opportunities, tap into your innate strengths with ease, essentially. Now, when we add to our understanding by going deeper and deeper into our designs, such as what can happen with the asteroids, our journey really does become this magical process, this magical journey that we can go on. Now, I'm going to focus today on one particular asteroid. And this is the asteroid Chiron. And I'm starting here because this is one that people can now readily get when they get a free human design chart. So if you haven't got a free human design chart, just search for one of those in Google and maybe even search for one that has Chiron included. So this means, that it's much more easy for people to access this information. So let's dive into Chiron. So the asteroid itself was discovered way back in 1977 by an American scientist. And at the time that it was discovered, it was the most distant planet, minor planet, that was known. And, there was not a lot really known about it, a few extra bits that came along, over a few decades. But it's only really recently that it has actually been shown to be more like a comet than an asteroid. So as far as the scientists can tell, it's made up of frozen water and different frozen gases, organic matter, and silicate dust, which makes it very much like a comet. And it also has, sort of like a, can't even think of the name of it, like a corona. No, it's not corona. Anyway, like its own little crown of dust around it. Anyway, but let's continue on. I've forgotten my words with that. But anyway, it's like with a comet where it has, like this extra bubble around it, which is all of the things that are coming off of it as it goes through space. Same kind of thing that Chiron has. So Chiron has this really weird orbit. So it's unstable. It's called eccentric by the scientists. It essentially crosses Saturn's orbit, and then it passes just inside Uranus's. So it's up in that part, out in the more distant reaches of the solar system. Now, since Chiron was discovered, we now know that there are actually a number of very similar bodies out there in that part of the solar system, and going even further out. And they've actually been reclassified, not as asteroids, but as something called centaurs. Now, the centaurs themselves, including Chiron, but not as much as the others, can be really tricky little beasts in terms of what they can activate within us, or what we may seek to keep hidden because of their energy as well. So I'll get into some centaurs at another point in time. Anyway, that's a brief overview of the asteroid. It's about 200 kilometers in diameter, so it's a fairly big sized one. Let's now have a little bit of a look at, this centaur that the asteroid was actually named after. So we're going to dive into a little bit of storytelling, go back into Greek mythology just a little bit to get a sense of who Chiron actually was. So Chiron is part of Greek mythology. And in Greek mythology, they actually mention many centaurs by name and by their deed, many of them not great deeds, because most centaurs were most famous for being quite violent, savage, animalistic. But Chiron was different. In fact, he came from a different line, a bit of a dodgy line, really. His father was Kronos, who was one of the Titans, and his mother was a sea nymph called Philyra. Now, to be blunt about it, essentially, Cronus raped Philyra. So probably she's not going to feel great about, her son in those circumstances anyway. But when he was born, it was obvious that he was a centaur, and his mother rejected him, apparently disgusted by him. And of course, his father was nowhere in sight. He'd taken off, done his violent deed and gone. So basically, this is why Chiron, in terms of the asteroid and the impact on our human design, there's this really strong connection to early childhood wounding from our parents, possibly our mothers, although in my case, I feel it's more my father, but anyway, from our parents in particular. So let's continue the story of Chiron. So Chiron rose up above these fairly dismal beginnings. His mother essentially abandoned him on top of Mount Pelion and just went off. She did seek some help from the gods, so it wasn't as though she didn't feel that in some way he would be supported. But anyway, he was found and essentially adopted by Apollo. And Apollo trained him up to really live in harmony with his more human nature. And now Apollo was very much about, the beauty, the aesthetics, all of those kinds of things in life. And he taught Chiron about medicine, about music, about poetry, prophecy, and law. And through these teachings and through his decision to live his life in harmony with Apollo's philosophy of life, he was able to become this really wise teacher to many of the Greek heroes of the Greek myths. So this is Achilles and Jason, and he had something to do with Hercules/Heracles. Essentially he trained up many of these heroes when they were young. So some of them it was when they were children, but even as, teenagers and whatever. And he taught them how to face life in a balanced way, with wisdom when they needed to be wise, with knowledge when they needed knowledge, but also to, allow their more impulsive, maybe animalistic nature to come through when it was needed in battle and things like that. All right, so he spent a lot of time helping to raise some of these key figures. And he really distanced himself from the other centaurs who were off, not doing great things. But his end came when he essentially got into the middle of a battle between Heracles and some of these other this other tribe, I suppose, of centaurs. And during this battle, he was accidentally struck in the leg by a poisoned arrow that Heracles was using on the other centaurs. And because of the nature of the poison, Chiron was not able to heal himself. And he was essentially living in extreme agony. And even though there's a little bit more to the story, we'll just leave it as in he gave up his immortality that he had through his, father God, to escape from the unending pain. But at the end, there was also some choices that showed his true wisdom and humanity, I suppose. So when we look at Chiron and the energy that we receive from this body in the solar system, this archetypal energy, there's a lot of different themes that happen here in this archetype. So the first one, he's been wounded twice, and there's definitely different stories of, people who've received, 2 significant woundings or more, that kind of thing. His most psychologically damaging one was the one that happened at his birth. And then, of course, later in life, he was able to actually take control and decide what to do about that particular physical wounding. So, he was this combination of both humanity and beastliness, so the human and the beast. And he really worked to create a kind of harmony and balance in his life, where although he didn't entirely reject the beastly side, he did not allow that side to overwhelm him as it did for many of the other centaurs. And, probably within this trying to balance both sides of his nature, there would have been a seeking of love and acceptance. But it's interesting that, in what he chose to do in his life, he didn't wallow in, this deep psychological wounding from his parents. He healed himself and then used his knowledge of healing to actually help others come through that. And, his past experiences truly became his motivation and his inspiration for everything that he achieved in his life. So essentially our Chiron gates show us, where we've been wounded, but they also show us how we can rise above that, how we can be healed from that, and how we can actually help other people through that, knowledge that we've gained, that healing that we've achieved. Now, when we look at the human design gates, essentially what we're looking for is the potential essence that will show us what the wounding might be like, because this is quite often, because it's very early childhood, it's often not within our awareness of what's happened. So let me give you an example. One of my Chiron gates is gate 63, which is the gate of doubt. Now, regardless of whether it's in Chiron or not, there's this energy with this gate that can be about either choosing to turn the doubts on yourself or using doubt as a way that faces externally to create, some amazing shifts in thought and ideas within our world. When this is your Chiron gate, you're going to be most likely caught up in a battle with self-doubt. And I can verify that is very much the case. Now, as I said before, I feel that this has actually come from my father, not my mother, but it doesn't matter. It could have come from another family member as well. So it is about the family. And because it's very early childhood, it's less likely to be, friends of family, more distant people. All right. So basically understanding that my doubting myself, there's some wounding there I have to clear up from my family, gave me some direction to actually do that. All right. So that's essentially how it can work. You can sort of look, oh, there's the gate. So now though, what's my biggest thing, my biggest motivation is to actually help people become self-empowered. So you can't become self-empowered if you are living in self-doubt. So can you see how that's become, the core of who I am now? But I had to go through a process to deal with that. All right. So if you are ready to actually step into discovering your Chiron gates or just more about your human design, why not consider having a personalized intuitive human design reading? Now, in this reading, we delve into all different aspects of your human design. We look for the themes and the connections, and quite often there's a bit of coaching involved as well, because at the heart of it, I'm a teacher and a coach. So there's going to be teaching, there's going to be coaching. And, we can look at your Chiron gates if that's what you would like to do. Or if you're actually ready to go deeper into your design, then this is where my self-empowerment jam comes in. You can come on board with me for a 3-month or 6-month one-to-one coaching and healing program called Ignite Your True Self. This will take you on a personal empowerment journey using your human design as the map and bringing in some of those other things that are deeper than just your natal chart. All right, so to get on board with any of that, you can put some comments in down below. So if you are excited by what I've been talking about, excited for this potential for healing through your Chiron gates, I'd love it if you could just hit the like button and then share your thoughts down in the comments. And then stay tuned for more on human design, going deeper into human design, and in particular on the asteroids and other parts of human design. So once again, make sure that you are, subscribing to this channel to get all the latest details. And next time, come back, stay curious about what human design can do, stay aligned, and I'll see you next time in the next video. So bye.